Hello, everybody. My name is Benjamin Bloom, and as you can see on the ticker down there, we have another managerial job up for grabs in the Championship, and this is one of the more predictable managers leaving because it was already set to be going. But we've seen in the example of Mick McCarthy at Ipswich a couple of years ago that announcing ahead of time that you're leaving doesn't really end well, particularly in the Championship. Birmingham and Pep Clotet announced before we came back to Project Restart that Pep Clotet would be leaving. And I hate to say, but I was right about this when I've been calling him a dead man walking ever since. And I'm afraid that has turned out to be the case. I don't know what it is, whether knowing that a manager is not going to be there just takes the edge off players or fans, or does it take the edge off the manager? I don't know. Let me know in the comments, but it does not seem to work, and it hasn't here. So Pep was announced late last night, hence why I'm doing this early this morning, to have left by mutual consent after another defeat for Birmingham, this one at home to Swansea. I believe that is the third in a row for Blues. There is yesterday's club statement. Pep Clotet has this evening left his position as head coach. He was due to step down at the season's end, but it was mutually agreed that he should relinquish the role immediately. Obviously, what has changed is the relegation. The relegation battle has opened up a little bit. Most people do think that Birmingham is safe, but if we bring the table up, you can see they're not completely out of the woods in terms of relegation yet. Remember, we're assuming, unless some miraculous appeal happens, that we can put Wigan up there in 15th to the bottom of that table on 41 points. Well, they're not exactly bottom, are they? Because they've got a better goal difference than Luton. So let's say Luton bottom, Wigan 23rd with 41, and Barnsley 22nd in the real table with 42. Birmingham still 7 points clear. So it would take a miraculous run of form from either, say, Barnsley or Wigan, who are within 7 points. But there's 4 games left. If they can score, one of them can score 10 points, and obviously Birmingham then get 3 or less with some goal difference maybe going their way as well. Then Birmingham still can go down, and the results are obviously slipping at this time. This was what was announced on June the 8th there. Pep Clotet to leave his role at the conclusion of the season. Dong Ren says, Pep came in as a colleague, but will leave as a friend with our gratitude. See, this is the issue with doing it this way, isn't it? And announcing ahead of time. It's all very nicey then, but when things take a bit of a turn on the pitch, not so good. I remember doing a video around this time last year saying Gary Monk had gone, and I think it's 9 years, 13 managers. Would that be right? Someone will correct me in the comments if I'm wrong on that. But Gary Monk had seemingly done a pretty good job with Adams and Jutkovic up front, and Potter and Magoma on the wings, nice and solid. Obviously, they'd had the issues with FFP and taking the points deduction, but then Monk, there'd been some kind of falling out, some talk about wanting to use the same agent for all the transfer deals, and all a bit niggly, but off Gary Monk goes. And speaking of niggly, in comes Pep Clotet. Gary Monk not very happy about that at all. He was the assistant there and considered to have sort of politic behind Monk's back to necessitate Monk's departure and then get the job, allegedly. If you listen to Gary and Pep, you'll get 2 different sides of that story for sure. I'm sure you Blues fans know the truth there. Interesting season for Pep. Obviously, without Che Adams was tricky, but a retooling. Fran Villabla came in, Dan Crowley. And the emergence of Jude Bellingham really helped. They did miss Che Adams, but he managed to kind of cobble his way through the season. I guess Christian Pedersen emerging now as one of the better fullbacks in the division. So he had stuff to build around left over, and did. I think Crowley and Bilabla, even though that didn't work out, were good players. And obviously the emergence of Bellingham particularly was something that Monk didn't have that was unique to Pep Clotet's team. Never really managed to push up, into the top half and ever be pushing ahead of mid-table. And things kind of petered out. One bright spark was the arrival of Scott Hogan on loan to play with Lukas Jutkovic. That's a deal that if they can get him off that Villa contract would be certainly a good one. And then we got to June the 8th, and for whatever reason, Trillion are going to stop with Pep. I think, what did it say? It was something like, I've not got the whole statement there. Oh, sorry, that's the wrong one indeed. Yeah, there you go. To explore other coaching opportunities. I mean, what does that even mean? So back we come after the announcement is made, and here are Birmingham's results. Let me just remove my banner in the top corner there. Reading from the bottom up there. A decent start, actually, back a 0-0 at West Brom and a rearguard action. But then they played Hull, and obviously this is before Hull had beaten Middlesbrough, and they were 12 without a win at this point, and they were 2-0 up in that one. But I suppose you're 2-0 down and you managed to salvage a point. Still, it was out of form Hull. But then look at that one there. Huddersfield fighting for their lives, come to Birmingham. Okay, a couple of set plays and a penalty, but 3-0 at home is 3-0 at home. You can see things starting to slip. Again, a rearguard action at Fulham. Good performance by all accounts by Lee Camp in goal, but a 95th minute Josh Onama goal doing for Birmingham there. And then last night they go under 3-1 at home to Swansea. So that is all she wrote for Pep. And I think most of us, frankly, and you can check back my videos for evidence of this, could see this coming. As I say, I just don't think it works, particularly in the bottom half of the table, to state ahead of time that you're leaving. Obviously, one thing I haven't mentioned is with contract Armageddon happening on June the 30th, a lot of Birmingham players the contracts were just stopped, and it was the case that for Clotet's last games, there was pretty much the first 11 and then academy players and not a lot on the bench as well. So none of this really played into Birmingham having a good end of the season, and this does seem to have been inevitable. I don't think it's the same thing as Woodgate and Warnock at Middlesbrough, where there was a big threat of relegation and you need to really push the needle before the end of the season. It would appear that a win and a draw from the remaining 4 games, let's bring the table up again, would put Birmingham on 53 points and would mean that Barnsley, who are effectively third bottom, would need to score 11 points from 4, which would mean 4 wins. So they're not far away. Maybe they just need a bounce like Bristol City got at the weekend. Let's just speak about those 3 teams, because there was a big gap in Championship managers leaving after Neil Harris and Neil Warnock in the winter kind of moving around. But since and during lockdown, Graham Jones replaced by Nathan Jones at Luton. We already mentioned Woodgate and Warnock, and Lee Johnson out from Bristol City at the weekend. So let's get ideas in the comments on who might be coming in to replace Pep Clotet at Birmingham. Lee Johnson would now be a name that you would think would be linked, only 39 and familiar to the Championship. Chris Hughton, obviously, and Lee Bowyer would be familiar to Birmingham fans as well. They've been named. Then you have Mick McCarthy, who's on the TV circuit, blowing kissy faces at lots of club owners. Aitor Karanka has been promoted as well. And then there's former manager Steve Bruce, possibly when the Newcastle takeover, if it ever does, finally goes through, could be available there. So a few names to throw at you. What I would like to know in the comments is your thoughts on, first of all, managers announcing they're going to leave. Does that ever work, and was this completely inevitable? Did Pep Clotet do a good job, and could he have moved Birmingham forward next season and onwards? Let me know. Would you have pulled the trigger now to get rid of him? And who do you think comes in? Those names I mentioned, not exclusively those: Bowyer, Houghton, McCarthy, Karanka, Johnson. Remember, it could be a European name, could be someone from League One or League Two even. Plenty of names working down there that are experienced that you might be able to throw into the hat there. So let me know what you think on all of that. And are Birmingham's board fit to run the club, given their record in recent years? Certainly been a bit of a tumultuous time with lots of managers, FFP and appeals even going on through into this season. Let me know what you think, especially if you're a Birmingham fan on that. But we welcome views of all football fans on this channel. Please hit subscribe, ring the bell for notifications. If you want to support the channel monetarily, financially, you can do so by clicking live chat. You see the dollar button and you can super chat there. That would really help me out, or by subscribing on Patreon. What is free is to subscribe on YouTube and ring the bell, and Twitter and Instagram. Help me out in my pursuit. So we'll be back later here on the channel with Leeds Stoke coverage, and then busy time here. It will be the Championship preview for game week 43, but first of all, the Championship review for game week 42. Games coming thick and fast, so well worth hitting subscribe. If you're new here, maybe a Birmingham fan who hasn't seen the content before, well worth hitting subscribe, I think, for Championship coverage. And you would assume Birmingham might be in that division for a fair while going forward, unless something catastrophic happens in the last game and Barnsley and or Wigan and or Luton have a nice winning streak before the end of the season. Anyway, thoughts in: Pep Clotet leaves Birmingham. Thanks for watching. Over and out.